God.
We'll start today's show with terror in downtown Manhattan again. Robert Mueller catches former Trump team members in his net. Manafort, Gates, Papadopoulos. What does this week's big legal news mean for the larger case? Michael Hayden and Preet Bharara will join me to talk about both terror and the Russia investigation. Also, Mr. Trump goes to Asia. How does the president see this crucial continent? Will the North Korean problem get solved? I have a terrific panel to discuss. But first, here's my take. This week's tragic terror attack in New York was the kind of isolated incident by one troubled man that shouldn't lead to grand generalizations. In the 16 years since 9/11, the city has proved astonishingly safe from jihadists. And yet, speaking about it to officials 10,000 miles away, when I was in Singapore this week, the conclusions they reach are worrying. The Home Minister, K. Shanmugam, said to me, the New York attack might be a way to remind us all that while ISIS is being defeated militarily, the ideological threat from radical Islam is spreading. The military battle against jihadi groups is a tough struggle, but it has always favored the mighty United States and its allies. On the other hand, the ideological challenge from ISIS has proved to be far more intractable. Western countries remain susceptible to the occasional lone wolf, but the new breeding grounds of radicalism are once moderate Muslim societies in Central, South, and Southeast Asia. Consider Indonesia, the world's most populous Muslim country, which used to be seen as a moderate bulwark. This year, the governor of Jakarta lost his bid for re-election after he was painted by Muslim hardliners as unfit for office simply because he is a Christian. Worse, he was then jailed after being convicted on a dubious and unfair blasphemy charge. Or look at Bangladesh, another country with a staunchly secular past. Founded as a breakaway from Pakistan on explicitly non-religious grounds, Bangladesh has increasingly become extreme in recent years. In this nation of almost 150 million Muslims, atheists, secularists, and intellectuals have been targeted and even killed. Blasphemy laws enforced, and a spate of terror attacks have left dozens dead. Why is this happening? There are many explanations. Poverty, economic hardship, and change all produce anxieties. People are disgusted by the corruption and incompetence of politicians. They are easily seduced by the idea that Islam is the answer, a Singaporean politician explained to me. And then local leaders make alliances with clerics and give platforms to extremists, all in the search for easy votes. In Southeast Asia, almost all observers that I've spoken with believe there is another crucial cause: exported money and ideology from the Middle East, chiefly Saudi Arabia. A Singaporean official told me, travel around Asia and you will see so many new mosques and madrasas built in the last 30 years that have been funded from the Gulf. They are modern, clean, air-conditioned, well-equipped, and Wahhabi. That's Saudi Arabia's puritanical version of Islam. How to turn this trend around? Singapore's Home Minister says that the city-state's population, 15% of which is Muslim, has stayed relatively moderate because state and society work very hard at integration. He said, "We have zero tolerance for any kind of militancy, but we also try to make sure Muslims don't feel marginalized." Asia continues to rise, but so does Islamic radicalism there. This worrying trend can only be reversed by leaders who are less corrupt, more competent, and crucially more willing to stand up to the clerics and the extremists. Saudi Arabia's new crown prince spoke last week of turning his kingdom to moderate Islam. Many have mocked this as a public relations strategy, pointing to the continued dominance of the kingdom's ultra-Orthodox religious establishment. A better approach would be to encourage the crown prince, hold him to his words, and urge him to follow up with concrete actions. This, after all, is the prize. Were Saudi Arabia to begin religious reform at home, it would be a far larger victory against radical Islam than all the advances on the battlefield so far. For more, go to cnn.com/Fareed and read my Washington Post column this week. and let's get started. Biggest